lands where fine cattle will roam as they will. But give me a home in Knockfierna by the side of the wind-swept hill. There again to smell the sweet heather and to hear the old coolroos call with a rose tapping light in the basement and God's blessed light over all. It's there that my fine thoughts won't leave me, no matter wherever I roam. I ask not for fame or for fortune, just give me my own Limerick home. Tora Hill will wake up in the morning, and she's clad in a mantle of grey. Knockfierna looks down on the Shannon, just to bid it Godspeed on its way. Lochgar has castle-crowned islands. 'Tis a bright, sparkling gem I love best, for she hugs like a fond, loving mother to clasp them to her friendly breast. It's there that my fond thoughts will linger, no matter wherever I go. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home. Now the joys of an old Limerick cottage, when the winter nights come along, the neighbours drop into the kitchen to fill it with laughter and song. As Shanachie sits by the corner to tell us of days that are past, while the Banattee's wholehearted welcome takes the chill from the cold winter's blast. It's there that my fire
Thanks, Sam. Our thanks there to Anne Phelan, and as we've said before, has been with us for many years indeed. We have an awful lot of people to go through tonight, singers and so forth, and while you're all nice and quiet and silent, I think a special round of applause is in order for a young lady who has been with us since we started 5 years ago and who won the All-Ireland title in under-14 singing in Clonmel during the summertime. Two fine ladies, two fine singers, three indeed fine ladies, all high standard, but Deirdre Scanlon was the lady who pulled it off recently. Deirdre Scanlon won a game. So, of course, we hope some of the Knockfierna air might have helped her along the way. We'll skip on here to John Hughes from Rathkeil. We have a lot of people with us tonight who wasn't with us before, and a very special welcome to those. And we're looking forward to hearing during the course of the evening. John Hughes will sing Pat Murphy's Meadow.
The autumn days are here again, and the night winds chilly blow. The woodlands turn to golden hue, and the harvest moon's aglow. To hear again of days long past, to come no more I'll know. When I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago, I see again the ocean and the distant sails apart, as the maidens in the meadow strikes up dark Lochnagar. There was music soft and tender in the winds that whispered low. When I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago. Where are the happy boys and girls that dance the gay quadrille? Or the singer who warbles sweetly the burning granite middle? To hear again at sunset where sweet Afton waters flow. When I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago. Those days are but a memory, like the snows of yesteryear. And when evening shades are falling, all alone I'd shed a tear. On my cheek I feel the soft touch of the winds that whispered low. When I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long go.
Good for yourself. Could you stand over there, please? Thanks very much, John. Anne-Marie Noonan will play 2 jigs. Anne-Marie, of course, plays Anne-Marie and the Ferrymen. And Mickey Liston will keep an eye on her there from a tail. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Mickey Liston was a bad man to give a microphone to. We'll give it to him now in a couple of minutes. Now, because he tells them well. But we'll have Deirdre Scanlon now next. As I said, Deirdre won the All-Ireland and we're delighted she's still with us. And I'm sure the same lady has a long way to go. Deirdre Scanlon will sing Eileen O'Neill.
Maid from Tralee, she had taken me captive, as fair as the lily, as pure as the snow. She lived on the road you would take towards Killarney. When my day's work was over, to see her I'd go. Morning and evening she walked in her dairy, cleaning the hops of her fishkins and pails. She held my heart captive, that sweet little fair one, the beautiful damsel called Eileen O'Neill. I remember the night that I went to her father and asked if he'd give me his daughter to wed. Oh, unless you will pay me down 20 bright guineas, you never will sleep in me fine feather bed. Well, the tears from my eyes fell like drops from a fountain, saying if you refuse me, all I will steal. So morning and evening I haunted the mountain that shadowed the homestead of Eileen O'Neill. One dark dreary night as I lay in me hiding, the bright light shone out from me darlings the maid. I hurried my footsteps, for that was the signal. Tonight I would steal away, Eileen O'Neill. Make no noise, dearest darling, me father will hear you. Your footsteps might away. had gone when he started his ball, and Eileen, where are you? There's a ghost in the house, dum dee oodle dum dodle dum ba dee dee oodle dum dodle dum dodle dum doodle dum dum hello dum dodle dum ba dee dee oodle dum do hello dum doodle dum ba dee dee oodle dum dodle dum dum hello dum dodle dum doodle dum dum. Well, we went to the station, 2 tickets we ordered next day, and at 4 we landed in Cork. And soon after that we were out in the ocean, and ever since then we're here in New York. We have 2 darling buchels and 2 lovely colleens, and each of them now can tell you the tale. Oh, their father thanks God for the night that he stole out their own darling mammy, sweet Eileen O'Neill.
Thanks, Deirdre Scanlon. There's a fine turnout here again tonight, and we've stated on each previous occasion we've had a session here that we never had a bad night, we never had a wet night, even though it's usually in winter time we hold these sessions. And for the 5 years we held the Festival of Lunacy in August, we never had a fine day. So maybe the seasons are changing. We're delighted to have, as we said, Dr. Manikin Shoei earlier, who has been writing for the Limerick Leader many, many years, and a very helpful man in the area of history, folklore, always with us and always very willing. Another man who wouldn't come under the same category, but from the point of view of being very helpful and regards to rural Ireland, rural West Limerick especially, is doing an enormous amount of work, and the Limerick Leader are very lucky to have him, and County Limerick are very lucky to have him. So for him, we will have a special song, Newport Town. I think he's quite close to it. And Philip Enright, who hails maybe feeling now living in Mungret. And the man whose name I left out is well known to all of you with his farming page in the Limerick Leader is Martin Ryan. That's right. So thanks to Martin for coming, as I said, always willing, and indeed covers all parts of Limerick in very fine detail, and does an excellent job covering rural Ireland and the county. So for Martin, a very, very fine singer who singing for many years and has won 5 All-Irelands, Philip Enright. Thank you.
Here by the Mulcair banks I strayed, mid the lovely flowers in June. The birds were singing merrily, and the meadows in full bloom. When on my boyhood days I strayed, the tears come rolling down. For it's in the morning I must leave you, dear old Newport Town. Oh, I grow lonesome as I see each lad and comely lass who once did greet me warmly on my wet welly mass, with their winning ways and greetings as they pass me up and down. Must I leave those friends and the girl I love in dear old Newport Town? Tipperary's hills and dells, farewell, from you I now must part. I will ne'er again roam Colin Slope, the thought near breaks my heart when I think of the hurling and the dance and Keeper Summit Brown And those days I fished in the Torn Hole in dear old Newport town. Farewell a while, sweet Gordon, oh, where I oft times chased the hare through Car Hills and Caraway and Colley's mountain bare and sweet Clare Glens, its flowery dells, I oft roamed up and down with those boys and girls who now are far from dear old Newport town. Adieu, adieu, sweet Newport town, adieu forevermore. 'Twas many the pleasant days I spent with comrades loyal and true. But if God spares me, I will return to where the Mulcair flows. And when I die, my bones will lie in dear old Ballymacone.
As we've said over many nights, over the many years, there is excellent, excellent talent. That's just another example of the very fine talent about the county. Our next man is talent of a different kind. He only bumped into us, or we bumped into him only very recently. So we'll let him speak for himself. So if we could have silence as far as possible. Mickey Liston from Ate.
I'll tell you this story now about a fella this time of year when they'd be collecting the harvest. He used to always give up going to Mass. He never believed in Mass during harvest time, nearly up to Christmas. He always put his crops before Mass. But by God, this time of year anyway, we happen to have a mission in Ate. And the Holy Fathers heard this man wasn't going to Mass. Well, by God, this Sunday anyway, one of the Holy Fathers hit on for the house. He couldn't find any trace of him around the house, and someone directed him to the garden. Here he was, and he pulling mangles. He was in such a hurry, he could hardly see the priest coming. But he took him handy anyway, and he says, God, he says, you have a fine crop, God bless him. Oh, I have, Father. Here's a grand crop, no doubt. I think, says he, you aren't coming to your mission. I don't see you at the mission. I tell you the truth, Father, I have no time. He said, I'm too busy with my work. God, I don't know. He says, I think if we left him there to God, he'd see after him. But to tell you the truth, Father, God has him with the last month, and he didn't pull a mangle out of him. Thank you. Will I tell you another little story about this fellow? He had a different complaint altogether. He had very high blood pressure. He couldn't do any work when he came, but it got so high with him this time anyway, the doctor ordered him into hospital. Oh, by God, he was in hospital for 4 or 5 days, and eventually they brought down the blood pressure. But he was a very friendly fellow, and this nurse seemed to like him very well, and every day she was sitting near him in the bed and I have a bit of a chat. Oh, by God, this day anyway, I suppose he was getting good, and she sat in near him and they were chatting away for a long time. By God, after a while, he says to the nurse, I think, nurse, I'm about to get a stroke. Oh, God, you are not, said the nurse. You never look finer. He was after resting for a while. I am, nurse, he said. I'm going to get a stroke. I know I'm going to get a stroke. Yeah, you are not, said the nurse. I don't see anything wrong with you. How do you think you're going to get a stroke? Well, nurse, he said, I'm rubbing my leg there all the time until getting pure lifeless. For God's sake, man, said the nurse, will you have sense to her? Isn't it my leg you're rubbing? Thank you. Well, yes, I suppose this man was very rich and he could always afford to have a priest and a doctor any time he'd be bad. So by God, this day, he brought on the priest and he brought a doctor and that put on each side of his bed. So it went on for a while, and after about a week he got very bad. And the priest was thinking he was in danger of death, and he turned over to him and he says, will you tell me, sir, to see, did you ever make a will? Here, God, no, Father, he says, sure, don't you know all belongs to me very well often? And sure, there's no need for me make a will. By God, you're right, said the priest, there isn't any need for you. I think the best thing you could ever do with your money, we're doing up the church, leave it to the church. And by God, we'll always pray for you. So he turned over to the doctor and he says to the doctor, what do you think of that, doctor? Here, God, said the doctor, I wouldn't agree with him at all. I think, to see, the best thing you could do with your money is leave it to us. We're going to make a doctor of our son, and we're short of money. And I think the best thing you could do is leave us the money, and we'll make a doctor of him, and he'll be able to cure a lot of people. So, by God, the old man laid back in the bed, he got bursting feet of laughing. The priest turns over to him. Here, what are you laughing at, man, he says. Well, no wonder I'd laugh, Father, he says. I'm dying like our Lord. Here, how is that, says the priest. For God's sake, Father, I'm dying between two thieves. Thank you. You know, I'll give you
The matches, Mike. The matches, Mike. The matches.
It happens.
Matei. As we said, it was only recently we came across him, and he tells them very, very well indeed. Tom O'Donoghue, are you ready, Tom? While we're waiting for Tom, we'll take another talented young lady, Rosie Garvey from Rathkeale, who also has won All-Ireland title in Sloga, and it's in Irish, I understand. She specialises or promoting the Irish language in an excellent fashion, so she has good company there behind her back in that particular area with Dr. Manikin Shoy. So Rosie Garvey.
This is a poem about the Blasket Islands, and it's about a way of life that has passed, about when people will come into the houses just like tonight. But if you go to the Blasket Island now, all you'll see is ruined houses. Biocht na Marav. Níl Lolani a sugra faoin rian ag an scoil folamh. Níl névóga stáití mar a bhíoch ag an gala. Seach is cunini is cuirig is éile hamara. Tá an tileán hir trécha. Tá gach éine marv. Tá rónta a gcuine costrá. Cuine na búci ó inis ficilán. Iad nocht sásta sínta an nganamh chealbháin. Mar a bhí. Mar tá. Islinn an bán a thóg pegmhór a clown. Ba dhacardí é, bhí an targad gaun. Ba chalín óg dathúlaí is ag dul isteachar an tileán. Ba bhean uastal cliste í. Seanachí costin táin. Is sin thuasait ag an rí, fear mór grí. Iascra, fear mór, fear fuis gach déirdín. Tá clú agus cáilenis hamáis ó cruhan. A chonig sé sa bháhan sin is ba charra leis an rí. Bhar muris sa te gíon his, feag fithe blian ag fás. Gáir sé, ghol sé, ghráig sé ann, silar ág sé an tileán. Ní sédan an ghae tríd na fothracha a chuin, creatlach a chuine, gan doras ná díon. Ach I mala, I gúnas na híthe, is I scéalta a leabhar mar hic siad cuithe. Is so irs mi a saoil a leabharín na bailmh, céile bhidúirt go rá mar marv.
Rosie Garvey, very, very fine performer indeed. Michael Ryan is on my list. Tom, where's Tom gone? Tom, if you play away while we're getting our wind here, please.
Okay.
There's a brew manufactured in Knockfierna Hill. It comes not from winery, brewery or still. But ladies have we who are handsome and gay, and they make a great liquid called Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. And the beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea. The view from this hill is a sight to behold. The fields stretch away like a carpet unrolled. The old Celtic gods o'er this region held sway. What a pity they never had a Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. The beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea. That old fairy Knockfierna used right through the skies. The old people trembled when they heard the noise. If he chanced to call while passing this way, oh, he'd master his magic with Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. Beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea. In Coronation Street for their bitter they go. They're fond of their Guinness in Teese's Glenroe. I think to drink coffee on home and away, but on Knockfierna Hill to drink Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. The beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea. Here's a health to Pat Donovan and his willing band. It's people like these who will rescue our land. To cherish our heritage, they show us the way, and they know the value of Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. The beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea. Now it is time that I finish this up, so boil up the kettle and make an old sup. They will raise our coupons in the old-fashioned way, and we'll drink to your health in this Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea, Rambling House Tea. The beer of Knockfierna is Rambling House Tea.
sending you this letter with the shamrock's brick inside. It's the last one I will ever send far across the ocean wide. A tiny bit of shamrock with its weeded roots and clay, from a spot in dear old Ireland in a hill near Monaghan. They tell me that you are married now, 3,000 miles from home. I don't believe it quite, for Eileen, you are my own. We pledged our thoughts before our God that morn you went away, as you sat beside that shamrock rock in that hill near Monaghan. Each day and night I hope and pray that you will return home, home to your loving sweetheart, to it's for you alone. But if you come home of morning, let it be in Patrick's Day, and I'll meet you by that shamrock rock in that hill near Monaghan. But if you come home and I'm not there upon that sunny hill, beneath God's holy cross I'll be waiting for you still, and the sod of grass will be just as green upon my coffin's breast, and that quiet little corner where you lay me down to rest.
We moved to Redkeel, our next performer, Roisin Garvey. Roisin, a young lady from Redkeel, and she's won the All-Ireland title in Sloga with an Irish verse in Irish. A very talented young lady. I heard her on Limerick Radio actually when I was coming out from a programme with you. She was on afterwards, I believe, that night. So her first night on Knockfierna hillside among the fairies and so forth. The young and the old fairies, I must say, tonight. So Roisin Garvey.
This is a poem about the Blasket Island and about a way of life that is gone. Beocht na marv, níl na lani ag sugra faoin rian ag an scoil follav, níl na bóga stáití mar bhíoch ag an gala. Seach is conini is cuirig is éan le hamara, tá an tileán hir tréice, tá gach é na marv. Tá rónta a cuine costrá, cuine na búci ó inis ficalán. Iad nocht sásta sínta an anamh gealbán, mar bhí, mar atá. Is linán bán a thóg pegmhór a clán, ba dhecardí é, bhí an targad gán, ba chalín óg dathúlí is ag dal isteach ran Ián, ba bhean uasal chlichte í, seanachí costintáin. Is sin thuasa tig an rí, fear mór grí, iascara, fear mór, fear fuist gach déir dín. Tá clú agus cáilnis Hamás ó go hín, a chonig sé sa bhahan sin is ba chara leis an rí. Formaris sa tigíon híos, feag fithe blian ag fás, gáir sé, gáil sé, grá sé an, sular ág sé an tileán. Ní sédan an ghué, tríd na fothracha a cuin, creatlach a chuine, gan doras ná dín. Ach í málaí a mála, í giúnas na híthe. Is í scéalta leabhar mar hic siad chuithe. Is so irs mé saoil a labhraíonn na bailmh, céileh a dúirt go raibh ar marmh.
Oh, do my eyes deceive me, or is it but a dream? The golden vales of Limerick, its coat of verdant green, a rarer sight was never seen, or never will again. It's that golden vale of Limerick you can view from Barnahill. When standing on the summit of that ancient Danish rock, you can view each town and city far better than a map. Newcastle West before me lies, God Street and Whelan's Mill. You can view them all from Corton's lawn at the foot of Barnahill. You can view the river Shannon and those hills far off in Clare. Rathkeil, Croke and Patrick's Well, all lovely sweet Adair. Askeet, Narda, Abbeyfield, Ashford and Charleville. You can view them all from Corton's lawn at the foot of Barnahill. To the right is Ballingarry, the chief town of the plain, where once the Lord of Desmond he stately deer did slain, where heroic men in days of yore they showed their power and skill. And my burial place is Monaghan at the foot of Barnahill.
The cold winds from the mountains are calling soft to me. The smell of scented heather brings bitter memories. There's a wild and lonely eagle up in the summer sky, flying high o'er Shanna golden on a lovely summer's day. Do you remember, darling, we walked the moonlit road? I held you in my arms, love, I never let you go. Our hands, they were entwined, my love, all in the pale moonlight, by the fields of Shanna golden, on a lonely winter's night. Then came the call to arms, the hills they were aflame. Down from the silent mountain the Saxon strangers came. I held you in my arms, love, my of Shanna golden in the springtime of that year. And you fought them, darling, all through that springtime day. I heard the rifles firing in the mountains far away. I held you in my arms, love, your blood ran free and red, and you died by Shanna golden in the springtime of that year. But that was long ago, my love. Our sun grows fine and tall. The hills, they are at peace again. The Saxon strangers gone. There are roses on your grave, my love. There's an eagle in the sky, flying high o'er Shanna golden, where my young Willie lies.
Right.
Good joke now about a woman. She was a neighbour of mine. She was terrible for smoking woodbines. She'd give her eyes for a smoke of a woodbine. But I got a poor woman. She had hard luck. She had to go into hospital. So by God, she was in hospital for a good few days, but this day she happened to run out of matches. She was in an awful state for a smoke, but as you all know, the travelling shop had come into the hospital. And as it was going up the ward, it was a Jew man that was running it. She called him. Come here, says she. Do you sell matches? Oh, by God, I do, ma'am. He says, I have a good bargain here in matches. I'll give you a dozen boxes for $1. By God, she fell for the bargain anyway, and she took the matches. And he passed on, selling away up the ward. And she took out the match out of the box and pulled it across the box. Not a spark in the world out of it. She was blind for the smoke. She opened another box and she done the same. No spark at all. She hadn't better to do, but she waited till your man was coming down the ward. Come here, says she. Them old matches you sold me, that stone useless. Take 'em back. Oh, God, ma'am, I'd know about that, he says. Show 'em here to me. So he took back the matches, and that were those red matches, and that would always crack, you know, on a coarse surface. So he happened to be wearing the corduroy pants. By God, he took out the match, and he put it across the backside of his corduroy pants, and it blazed up. Like your woodbine now, ma'am, he said. And she lit it, and she was delighted. But give me another one, he said. Now they proved you they're good. So he took out another one out of a different box and put it across the backside of the pants, and it blazed. Now, Mrs. says he, and the match is perfect. Sure, says he, there's no complaint about them. I know that, she says. She's all right for you. But where would I find the Jew man's arse at 3 o'clock in the morning? Thank you.
that's 10 o'clock, and as we said, we were delighted. It was such a very fine turnout, and we were mentioning the odd person earlier on. I'd like to pay a special welcome to Senator Dan Neville. We're delighted he's joined us tonight. Dan is from just at the bottom of the hill and a very busy schedule, and we're delighted that you've been tonight. Thank you. So we will have a 5-minute break, and there is tea inside for 4 or 5 people at a time. And we will be speaking about the harvest as the main gist of the night. So Dr. Mannikin Shoei and some of the other more mature folk in the house, we will talk to those. The Limerick radio is to come back again about 11:15, so we won't fit much in, but we'll try to fit in some little bit of talking and some musician and a singer or two. It's very limited in time. So anybody who wants to walk outside or go for tea will be back in action in about 5 minutes. We will now move on with one of our own, John O'Riordan, a very active committee member. And he will sing a local ballad composed locally, My Own Limerick Home, John O'Riordan.
Other counties may boast of their rich lands, where fine cattle will roam as they will. But give me a home in Knockfierna, by the side of the wind-swept hill. There again to smell the sweet heather, and to hear the old coolroos call, with a rose tapping light in the basement, and God's blessed light over all. It's there that my fine thoughts won't leave me, no matter wherever I roam. I ask not for fame or for fortune, just give me my own Limerick home. Tora Hill will wake up in the morning, and she's clad in a mantle of grey. Knockfierna looks down on the Shannon, just to bid it Godspeed on its way. Lochgar has castle-crowned islands, 'tis a bright sparkling gem I love best, for she hugs like a fond loving mother, to clasp them to her friendly breast. It's there that my fond thoughts will linger, no matter wherever I go. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home. Now the joys of an old Limerick cottage, when the winter nights come along, the neighbours drop into the kitchen to fill it with laughter and song. As Shanachie sits by the corner to tell us of days that are past, while the Banattee's wholehearted welcome takes the chill from the cold winter's blast. It's there that my fine thoughts will linger, no matter wherever I roam. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home.
Take your seats. Now we have another fine gentleman from Ballyhahel, and we're delighted those lads from Atay, Ballyhahel, and that's Keaton and all the other places indeed have joined us tonight. Paddy has written much. He's appeared on the Kerry radio, Rambling House down there. He has appeared with us, strangely enough, on 2 previous occasions, but it's his first night being with us here. We have held a number of sessions during the summertime for charity. If we could have silence now, please, because it's quite difficult for people performing. The background noise comes out quite loud. Paddy, as I said, an excellent performer, and he's written much. He's the backbone of the heritage folklore in the Ballyhahel area, and I believe they brought out a book on poetry in Ballyhahel recently. Yeah. And he went down very, very big we did one for the Rathkeil Harvest Festival, a charity one down there during the summertime, and Paddy performed the Ard of Train, so he will give it to us again now tonight. Paddy Fairley.
This is about a quarrel that took place between a train driver and a woman whose goat he killed on the railway lines yard. You are the man, I heard them saying, that killed my goat at your old train. Why did you kill her? Come explain on the railway lines yard. I'm sorry to say it was me all right that killed your little goat last night, but then on the track she had no right in the railway lines yard. 'Tis you, young man, that is to blame. Why didn't you pull up your train? My poor old goat that had me like cream, you killed in the railway lines yard. 'Tis there, my woman, you are wrong. You know my train is powerful strong. How could I halt her flying along the railway lines yard? Here your bloomin' train can scarcely hoot. Whole smoky hole, a washing suit. 'Twill very soon be after route on the railway lines yard. Here I don't mind my train, but tell me this. You're gamey looking, that's it is. Maybe you'd give me one old kiss in the railway lines yard. Keep out from me, you blasted rogue. The cheek of you, you gamalog. I'll flatten you with my kitog on the railway lines yard. Here, there's no need for you to jump and roar. I kissed far nicer girls than you before. And most of them came back for more on the railway lines yard. I'd like my job than kissing you. I'd be shot taking for the thing to do. With your pussing you like a cherry blue on the railway lines yard. A cherry blue's pussy bit hastier than your mouth, but he'd fit in well with your dirty snout. I think when beauty came, it passed you out in the railway lines yard. You insulting scamp, I let you see that I will sue the company, and for my goat I will pay me on the railway lines yard. Against you, ma'am, they have the law. For yourself, for your goat, I care a straw. So you might as well now hold your jaw on the railway lines yard. Hold my jaw, indeed I will. Not until myself you'll kill. May the devil roast your arse in hell on the railway lines yard.
Our thanks there to Paddy Fairley from Ballyhahel. We'll have Colm O'Reilly now with his song. Colm O'Reilly, Colm is from Rathkeil, and he hasn't been with us before. If we could have some silence now, ladies, please. Thanks.
Oh, Sullivan's John, to the road you've gone, far away from your native home. You're gone with a tinker's daughter, for along the road to Rome. Oh, Sullivan's John, sure you won't stick it long, till your belly will soon be slack. When you're roaming the road with a mighty load, and a toolbox on your back. I make Katie coffee with her neat baby behind on her back strapped on. She'd an old ash plant all in her hand for to drive her donkey on. Inquiring at every farmer's house for along the road she'd pass. Where was she find an old pot to mend, and where was she swap an ass? There's a hairy ass fair in the county Clare, in a place they call Spansel Hill, where my son James got a rap of a hames, and poor Paddy they tried to kill. They loaded him up in an ass and cart, while Kate and Mary stood by. Bad luck to the day that I went away to join with the Tinkers band. Oh, Sullivan's John, to the road you've gone, far away from your native home. You're gone with the Tinker's daughter, for along the road to Rome. Oh, Sullivan's John, sure you won't stick along till your belly will soon get slack, when you're roaming the road with a mighty load and a toolbox on your back.
It's Colm O'Reilly from Redkeel. We'll have Pat Sullivan from Scarta Glen. Pat Sullivan, Scarta Glen. We're delighted again that tonight's occasion, indeed the other occasions, have been well received in that countryside, and that Pat saw fit to travel the long journey from Scarta Glen. So a special round of applause to Pat for the distance anyhow. Pat Sullivan, Scarta Glen.
Oh, bear me the breezes that blow in the spring, sweeter the songs that the song thrushes sing. I sigh for a sight that I seldom see now, a man in his field with his horses and plough. I sigh for the days of my youth long ago, when I harnessed my team in the barn below. Then away to the highland beside Corrigal, and plough up the green sod with horses and plough. Invoking a blessing, I started my day. Baloyer an upper, that's what I would say. Asking for guidance to keep my know-how, and plough straight for with horses and plough. With whistling and lilting and bars of a song, to lighten my labour all the day long. With the seagulls above me and rooks on the bough, all sensing the bounty of horses and plough. Then up at the headland every once in a while, I rested my body, all aching with toil. With the sleeve of my shirt, wiped the sweat from my brow, as I gazed at the work of my horses and plough. But the clatter of tractors, pollution and all, has crippled the couple, and sad was its fall. Whilst far away Opec we richly endow, as we think of the work of the horses and plough. Very soon I'll be called from this valley of woe to the fair fields of heaven I hope I will go. One request of St. Peter I pray he'll allow, eternal employment with horses and plough.
It's Pat Sullivan of Scarta Glenor. Thanks again to Pat for coming the long distance tonight. A lady who didn't come quite so far and who performed with us up in the hill last year, and one of the many wet days we got in the August time. And as we said, a welcome there to Dan Neville. Dan was, I think, the only politician that made it up the top of the hill last August, so hopefully he'll be with us again. We will have Chrissy Roach from Castlemahon who will tell a clean story, hopefully.
I don't think I know any clean stories, Pat.
I'm afraid of.
Actually, I was going to do a poem, but I'll tell one yarn first, okay? Well, it's about these couple, you see, and they had twins, 2 boys, Peter and Paul. Now, Peter and Paul, the language wasn't too good with them, so they were always cursing. But that was all right when they were small. But then it came that they would be going to school, you see. And the father and mother said, just we can't let them go to school, they'll make a show of us, you see. So the father and mother said, we get them to stop cursing, all right, because we coaxed them and they promised them this thing and that thing, motor cars, tractors, everything, to stop cursing. Most the boys got no hope of stopping cursing. So then there was 1 week to go and school was open on a Monday morning. And they said, we'll have to get rough with the 2 and they'll make a show of us. So the father said, well, the first fella down in the morning now, he said to his breakfast, he said, the very first curse he gets, he said, I'm going to stand up, he said, and I'm going to give him a bloody good hiding now, he said, and that's it. And they'll soon get the message. Well, that was all right, and the first fella came down the stairs in the morning, Peter. Good morning, Peter, says the mother. Oh, good morning, ma'am. Tell me now, Peter said, what are you having for a breakfast today? I said, I'll have a bowl of fucking cornflakes. You see? So the father got up and he belted him around the house, you see. And he was roaring and bawling, of course, no more about it. About 10 minutes after the second fella came down. Paul says, see, what are you having for a breakfast? Well, then I want to fucking sure that I'm not having fucking cornflakes. All right, well, I tell you the poem. It's all right now.
Thanks, Chris. Chris Roach, Castlemahon, thanks. Sorry for not allowing her to go on to the poem. Thanks very much. We're caught between the... What are we caught between? Between the clock and the telephone. We'll have Pat Brosnan from Atay will give us a song. Pat Brosnan of Atay.
The night is falling fast, and I'm thinking of the past, as I sit here with my darling by my side. She's an old and wrinkled dame, yet I love her just the same, as that happy day she came to be my bride. I think I see her now, with a smile upon her brow, as she vowed that she'd be mine forevermore. I'd no land or pastures wide, but I took her home with pride to the cabin with the roses round the door. Light-hearted did I toil, and I found that grateful soil gave me back for my work 100-fold. We'd enough and some to spare for the poor a tiny share, and we envied not the planter and his gold. But we had to share a grief. Resignation brought relief. It was hard until the bitterness was o'er, for we both were sorely tried when our little darling died in the cabin with the roses round the door. Now we simply journey on, for the boys and girls have gone to the cities, meet the bustle and the strife, and they've left us here alone in a cabin that's our own, where patiently we wait the close of life. But together, all in all, some sweet stories we recall of the dear little one who's gone before. And we're happy though we know that we too will have to go from the cabin with the roses round the door.
Yes? That's fine.
Recreation quite is in my mind. The fields all round were neatly crowned with flowers of every kind. About midday I chanced to stray down by a purling rill, and as I did pass I met a lass at the foot of Ruska Hill. Oh, quite amazed I then did gaze as she came in my view. My heart did leap with such a fleet, I thought 'twould split in two. I then arose and did propose, and that with right good will, saying, come with me a storm o' Cree tonight from Ruska Hill. Oh, no, not I, she did reply, I can't grant your request. I'm waiting here for Willie dear, he's the lad that I love best. I'll meet him yet about sunset down by a purling rill, and we both shall roam along the grove at the foot of Ruska Hill. With a heavy sigh she then drew near and took me by the hand, saying, come with me, my dearest dear, we'll join in wedlock bands. are frail, and we'll bless the day we came that way to the foot of Ruska Hill.
Nora Lynch from Castlemahon. Nora has also won all Ireland Championship singing over the years and Munster medals. Very, very talented young lady. Just 16 years of age, a very fine singer indeed. We won to Pat McCall, and again Pat has won all Ireland really recently in the doing Shanachie. So Pat McCall.
Here's a microphone.
Well, there's a woman in Old Town, and if the story wasn't coming quick enough, she'd say, "Tell on." Well, that's what I'll do. There was a man that lived down over where one time, Patsy Casey was his name, a small bachelor farmer, a small little tin man he was. And from the time his mother died, God be good to her, from the night she was removed in the brown box, Patsy never washed a cup. What was above in the dresser, he brought him down. And when they were on the table, he used to wash one for himself. He used to keep a desperate joint. A man that was always bad in the sight, very nearsighted, and he was very fond of the soup. And at the stage I'm telling you about, Patsy had one cow left, a nice little farm he had, and he used to keep a terrible joint. It was gone so bad with him at this stage that he used to have to go to bed at night with his trousers on. He said the fibre was all out through the mattress and today ate him. And of course, to put you thinking there might be more than fibre there to eat him. Well, Patsy said, before anything had happened to the cow, that he turned her into cash at the March Fair in Bruff. Patsy left in the dark of the morning, and he was going out the front field at home driving the cow. And I suppose the boots weren't great by him. Well, he put his leg into a hole of water. Well, the pain of it went straight to his heart when the boot filled. And Patsy looked up to heaven, and he said, "Well, bad says to you for a moon." He said, "If the night was bright, you'd be out." Well, he struck on towards Bruff with his cow, and he was going in by where the old dispensary used to be, health centres they call them now. And he met the first customer, a small little man from Cork with a hard hat in him, and two of the worst feet you ever saw me hobbling along. And he looked at the old cow and he looked at Patsy, and he said, "Good morning, sir." He said, "Did she cycle in?" And he took a few more strides and he looked back at Patsy and he said, "You won't make much of her." He said, "Sure, she's the leg under her." And Patsy was very quick with the tongue, and he looked after him and he said, "If I were you," he said, "I wouldn't be boasting." And he struck on up the fair in Bruff, and he said he always heard his father to say that if we'd only go out be in the middle of the fair. And he stood the cow above in the middle of the street. God help us, he wasn't long there. I suppose this was the journey done her. Didn't she lie down on him? Well, it was then Patsy was in the state and the cow lying down, and the next man that arrived, a kind of a smart aleck of a fella, and he gave the poor old cow a poke. And he looks at Patsy and he said, "How much will you take for the sleepy one?" "A fiver," says Patsy. "I'll give you a juice for her," he said, putting up his 2 fingers, £2 man. In fact, "No one," says Patsy, "and to tell her the truth," he said, "I wouldn't wake her up for it." Well, with the help of a couple of fellas alongside him, Patsy got the cow standing. And the next thing, 2 brothers came on and they started examining the cow. And one of them opened her mouth and he started looking into it. And at the same time, the other fella lifted up her tail and he started looking at her that way. Well, Patsy was raging. And he said, "If there's only the way they humiliated the poor old cow on the side of the street, if there's nothing else." And he said to the fella looking into her mouth, he said, "Can I see your man back through her?" Well, Patsy sold the cow. What he got for her we'll never know. And he went away and drank a meal of porter for himself. And he was heading home to the village in the heel of the evening, and what do you think he bought? Only a puck oat. And he put a bit of a binder twine around his neck, and he struck on for home, and he was going into the village at home when he met a local man, and when he saw Patsy with the goat, he said, "There won't be a bit of cabbage left in the locality with this fella." "In the name of God, Patsy," he said, "what did you buy him for?" "Yes," says Patsy, "I bought him chap," he said, "in the heel of the evening." And he said, "Sure, come next October," he said, "he might earn something for himself, if you know what I mean." And sure, he said he won't that much. And your man was getting anxious, and he says to Patsy, where are you going to put him? And Patsy thought for a minute, and he said, sure, he said, can't I put him down in the front room? Oh, what about the smell, says my man Tim? Well, tell our little throat, says Patsy, he'll have to get used to that. Well, I don't know what government was in at the time. I think it was the Devil Era government. And they brought out the blind pension, and as I said to you, Staten, Patsy was a man that was very short-sighted, and he applied for the blind pension, and he got a letter back to appear before an optician, if we don't mind, inside in Limerick City. Patsy went down. He went down the road behind in the bus from Brewery, and he arrived inside in the city, and he poked out his way to where the optician was. And the optician met him, and he put him sitting down in a big chair, and he had a big map up in front of Patsy, and a big A in it, and a medium-sized A, and a small A. And he got out a big pointer, and he pointed to the small A, and he said to Patsy, can you see that? No, says Patsy. And he pointed at the centre one, and he said, can you read that? No, says Patsy, I can't. Well, there was an enormous size of an A there, and he says, can you read that? He said to Patsy. No, says Patsy. But sure, the poor old optician never knew. Sure, Patsy couldn't read nor write. It didn't make any odds in the world to him.
That was Castlemahan and Kappa United. We will have a little discussion. The main purpose of tonight's gathering was to talk about the harvest time of long ago. So we have to cover that. We usually have about a half an hour of chat. And the purpose of the Heritage and Folklore group here in Knockfierna, apart from developing the hill and the roads and the tracks through the hill and the various sites around the place, it is also to revive to a degree, or at least record the old customs and the old pastimes which we have been doing, as I've said there earlier tonight, on Christmas and Easter and the various recording video sessions we did. And a friend of mine that I worked with many years ago, Brendan Harvey of Harmac Records, he was on the phone to me today and he was talking about the videos we did previously. And as he said, like that, it is 10, 20, 30 years' time today will be very much appreciated and very valuable because we've done them all live with many old people over the years that aren't with us tonight. Tonight's crowd are very young indeed, all of you are very young. Any of you feeling old, you're 20 years younger than many of the people who were here before you. But we will still talk to a number of the older people in the next 10 or 15, 20 minutes or so about the harvest time long ago. Being a young lad myself, I can remember the thrashing machine, which was the big day, and the humming of the old thrashing mill in the neighbourhood and coming into our own places. And it was a wonderful time, and it's a pity, I suppose, to a degree that it's gone. But for our generation, we were probably very lucky that we saw the cocks of hay, wines of hay coming in, and floats and pikes of hay and turf being cut with the slan, which is just above my head here, and the rake, which many of the younger people wouldn't know what it was for. They might think it was for holding up somebody nowadays. I think those implements indeed, not for the purpose they were used for. And of course the people themselves have changed enormously. As you all know, when you visited houses and the rambling houses in days long ago, they made the tea and they talked. Nowadays you visit houses, many of them will ask you what brought you, and those that don't ask you what brought you, they'll shh while the television is on in Dallas and so forth. So times have changed, and hopefully our committee here, which is going very well, and these particular sessions which look like going on and on and on, and as we've said in earlier years, hopefully some of the other places like Ballyhahal and Atay would revive them. I know in Broadford they intend doing one shortly, holding a session, something similar to this out in Broadford Hills. So we will have a chat with my good friend here and our committee member, Vice Chairman David Fitzgerald. David, whose land Knockfierna Pinnacle is situated on. David is around a little while. He doesn't show his years that much. But David might tell us about the thrashing days and the harvesting of long ago.
Well, in my time now, I see people cutting corn with a hoe. And the man cut it off, he cut it with straws, made his sheaf, and the man came on and bound it. Then came on the man with the soy. He cut it, a man had to take it out, and the man to bind it and to stew it. Then there came on a metal ribbon binder. He cut it and bound it. After that, well, before that now, they cut it with a more machine. And a fella, there were 2 seats in the machine. One fella was making the sheaves, and another man came on and bound it. Then they came on the metal ribbon binder. And that was, right, came on and made the ribbon binder. And that cut it and bound it. So then they made a combine harvester. There was 3 men operating the first combine harvester. One man was driving the machine, you had 2 men in the bags, and you had more men pulling in the bags. Then they got a bit wiser, and they put a big tank on the combine harvester. And they blew it into a lorry or a trailer, and just sent straight to the mill. Well, the first thing that I spoke of first when they stoked it, the corn had been stoked, headed, and then if we made a fine day, you took off the head, let the corn dry, and when the day came to draw it in, you had to knock the stokes, and then you go and make a reach of it. And so we there then for about a fortnight, and thrashing machine came on, and metal came on. All the neighbours around, about 20 to 25 people, they all had their own jobs, just thrashed and bagged, and the straw reaped. And that's as far as I could see now, but I have it as pass on to somebody else.
Thanks, David. Do we have anyone here who would sing the old thrashing mill? We'll take you now. We'll take you in the middle of the thrashing. Sorry about that, Dan. We'll come back to you. And he never did this year.
Will they be out with it?
As I walked down the road on this fine harvest barn, I could see the great combine collecting the corn. My mind wanders back in a moment of joy to the days of the thrasher when I was a boy. All over the valley you'd hear the strange sound of that mighty machine and its annual rounds. All the men from the townland would follow at will, and that all in the hand with the old thrashing mill. So boil up the bacon and the cabbage that's green, have plenty of spuds laced with butter between, for 8 empty bellies will so need a fill. It makes a man hungry, the old thrashing mill. There was 2 on the thrasher and 2 on the stag, whilst the man with the fire kept the straw flying back. There was bottles of porter and plenty of fags, whilst old Larry and he looked after the bags. Then a few of the boys made a reek of the straw, whilst the young ones had fun playing hide and go seek. Myself and my brother, the dog and the cat, had the time of our lives as we murdered the rats. So boil up the bacon and the cabbage that's green, have plenty of spuds laced with butter between, for 8 empty bellies will so need a fill. It makes a man hungry, the old thrashing mill. But times keep on changing and nothing stands still. Larry Andy is gone out like his old thrashing mill, and most of the workers I knew as a child have reaped the great harvest for which they have toiled. No more in the valley will I hear that machine, for just like the corncrake 'tis gone from the scene. It makes me feel sad when I dream of it still. Sure I love the old sound of the old thrashing mill. So boil up the bacon and the cabbage that's green, have plenty of spuds laced with butter between, for 8 empty bellies will so need a fill. It makes a man hungry, the old thrashing mill.
Our thanks to another Kerryman, a blowing like myself, Jim Lyons from Ballingarry. Back to Dan Monkton again. Dan has been with us also quite a number of years, and we're indeed very honoured and delighted, I in particular probably, that Dan is on the committee with us, and he was elected president there at our AGM, which was held just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Dan just lives at the bottom of the hill on the Granite side, and a man of enormous wealth of information gathered over many years. He's provided with many writings and many photos and many cuttings from newspapers and many outings over many years ago, and we're delighted he's taking so much interest in the Knockfierna heritage and folklore of the area, and that he is also actively involved with us. Dan will tell us about the good old days harvesting, not today or yesterday.
I suppose my friend Dave Fitz has nearly covered much the same ground as I'd been trying to go over. But
potatoes and all that.
Potatoes, of course, around this time of year now, we'd be harvesting potatoes.
What kind of pitting used to do with potatoes?
Well, you'd dig out a pit, make a bed, and you'd put your load of potatoes into them, and when you'd have all your potatoes heaped in, you'd come on and you'd cover it with earth, and then you'd come get with rushes and cover dirt over the rushes.
Was the pit made on the ground level, or was it underneath? Was it dug in? Dug down?
Well, it might be dug down maybe about a foot or so, because you'll want to get a dry portion of a field or a haggard The water wouldn't be inclined to lodge or anything like that. And of course the problem was rats, to keep the rats out of it as well. That was not. The poison wasn't too good that time.
Are potatoes still pitted in the same way today?
I don't think so. I'd say they're all back now usually. They're not growing anyway except by certain large growers. We're importing a lot of them even.
And fairs, wouldn't there be an element of selling cattle before the winter time would come on?
Well, I suppose around October, November again would be, the farmer would be inclined to sell off his stock if he was overstocked, especially for the winter.
And what fairs used you go to?
Principally at Kiel, and Chrome was a local fair, but it was only mostly for smaller cattle and calves. And
before I came out tonight, I was looking at old receipts that I had. I left this with me. But intended to build a particular lot I was looking at from the 1950s. They built him supplies from the van, so there was too much breakdown in that, £5 or, but those old canvas bags, they were 3 shillings each in 1954.
But of course, during the war years, you were charged £1 for every sack that went out. To a lot more than the contents of the sack. But once you returned the sack, your £1 would be returned again.
So we'll move. Thanks, Dan. The bog. And do you anything special about the bog? How would you bring home the turf in the Ballyhale country?
Well, at the time, early in the time, because the donkey played his part in the bog, which is and the pony, it was all brought out. And even during the war now, when an awful large amount of turf was cutting to the pony and the horses rode out, there were no tractors during the war. At the end of the war, the tractor came along going into the bog, which the turf was cut with the slan. The slan and the pike with 3 of them cutting one would be cutting with the slan, another one landed up on the bank, and another with a wheel barring it out along. That might cut two lorry loads of turf from the day, maybe on average, or more.
We all enough to remember the bog.
But,
we tend to find nowadays anyway that give you a very good appetite.
Oh, you didn't want anything, and you must give you an appetite anyway. But no tea was relished like the tea in the bog when it was dry. A can was laid up, and a tin can or a sweet can then laid up on the fire, and the tea turned into the sugar and all that down.
Steel roads then behind me here. The midgets, she said, how did they affect you?
The midgets affected more in the cornfield than they did in the bog, actually. Yeah. Till very hard to get. You couldn't get rid of the midgets then. Without the cream from nose, you could rub to your face like everything else.
I was up in...
But I had a thing I wrote out about spud, because it was the principal cropping out place back around. But this is a little poem I wrote about the spud and the spade. I will sit on my specs now to the another bit. But butter, milk and potatoes were our forefathers' diet, with bacon and cabbage and brown bread not white. With yellow meal ruled their sound bellies they filled. They had no blood pressure or arthritis as their gardens they tilled. They grew up strong and healthy, no pain or backache. No andrews or tablets did they need to take. No cordons or bunions, though they walk miles and miles to mass and to fairs, their face full of smiles. Some attended mass in their turns, for they shared the same Sunday suit, with the heels through their socks and their strong hobnail boots. Yet their songwriting gay had sent it in the air like a rocket, with a flower bag for a shirt and a bob in their pocket. Yet they were affectionate and kind, always ready to share their help with a neighbour who needed their care. And any poor traveller caught out in the night was welcome to a place by their homely fireside. Today in all Ireland 'tis a different scene, and great improvements have come to our Isle of Green. The times for our people were never so good, with all kinds of dainties and a variety of food. No hardship, no walking, we have buses and cars to take us to mass and to the lounge bars. Yet in the midst of all luxuries we all seem out of tune, groaning and moaning night, morning and noon. Our bones are all aching, our bodies are ills. We can't stand, we can't walk, we can't pee without pills. The doctors are thriving from our visits and moans, and the chemists enlarging their staff and their homes. Let us get back digging in our gardens once more to produce fresh, wholesome food and our tin stuff ignore. Then of all the tablets we soon will get rid, and we'll sing and enjoy life as our forefathers did.
Now, just before we move in, we have another gentleman, and if ever there was a gentleman, he's one. But before I move on to that particular gentleman, David Brown of Broadford. David has been with us before, an excellent performer, and he was in Cork this evening, and I'm delighted that he again had so much interest that he came all the way from Cork back this way to be with us tonight. So a special welcome to... You heard me in Mallow. Thanks. David Brown of Broadford. Talking about midgets there a while ago, I was up in... Talking about midgets there a while ago, I was doing an auction last summertime up in Temple Glanton one evening, and we had to vacate the scene. We nearly got eaten. We had to go into the house, they were so bad. Just before we move on, we're into the man already, Michael. This was a piece Michael Ryan would be more suitable than I would for doing this particular one. I did a bit of a job from some bits and pieces I gathered up here and there. So it's a kind of a summing up of times long ago, going from the mission, which was very interesting. I remember up in County Clare, an old fella told me he was walking very bent over, you know, and there was a mission, and the missioner was saying, stand up, anybody who wants to go to hell. And this old man was very deaf, and he was late arriving, so he headed up the middle of the church. He was the only man standing on that particular night. But funny enough, that particular piece here now that Michael will read for you, it did contain a reference to the priest standing all alone for heaven. Now, Michael.
I'm sitting by the fire, and it's time to go to bed. And it's funny, when you're all alone, what thoughts go through your head. I've wandered back down memory land, and people I can see. I see them now arriving at a mission at Kilsheen. Sure, everyone would turn out on sidecar, trap or bike, and some of them would walk for miles, and some would even hike. No matter what the weather was, we'd all get up and go, for to miss the parish missing was the lowest of the low. Oh, I remember well one missioner. Oh, I remember him very well. Oh, asked the congregation if they wished to go to hell. If anyone amongst you want to languish in the flames, stand up and let us see you, and let us know your name. Well, no one moved a finger for a minute or more. Then up stood Mikey Dooley. He was sitting near the door. It isn't that I'm going to hell, said Mickey with a moan, but I hate to see your father standing up there all alone. The missioners would visit all the sick throughout the day. They'd administer the sacraments, and then they'd have the tea. And there was awful ructions when they dined with Twigs McHugh, for when Mary poured the tea, The colour was navy blue. And they couldn't understand it. It was the best of Indian tea, and water from the finest well that anyone could see. But when they emptied out the teapot and the flag outside the door, should have found the belt of Mary's coat that she lost a year ago. Our parents, God be good to them, they made us work so hard, cutting turf and picking spuds and cleaning up the yard, and filling up the nettle pot to feed the hungry sow, and slicing up the turnips to satisfy the cow. Now they talk about the bad old days, but simple were our needs, and the people were contented in the midst of all their needs. Our parents found their happiness and banished all their cares in the rambling house at chapel gates, at patrons, wakes and fairs. And I fear that Irish friendship may be heading for the rocks if our children seek their happiness at the bar or in the box.
They were the good old days. Thanks for reading, Michael.
Actually, I had nobody talking tonight about the one-way. This is harvest time. The old one-way bread was lovely.
We'll hear it now.
It had a distinctive colour, I remember well. A kind of a yellowish, greenish colour, if you got a real good one-way. I mean, the farm one-way now, I call it. That the farmer went to the mill, down to Washport Mill, in Ballysteen, great old mill for it. And even for a while, where the airboat factory is now, they got that mill going during the war. And I remember Mick Nolan got big up to him. And he used to take in the farmers' bags of corn and grind it. But I think in that place, the stone mills weren't so good as it was farm stuff. But in that old mill too, there was a tradition. It was haunted. We were always scared of our life passing up there because it was said that a woman got her shawl cut in the wheel, and the blood spattered up on the wall. And no matter how many times they coated the wall, they couldn't get the blood off of it. We believed all that, of course. And I remember walking up the road at night, and you'd be over the far side of the road, and you'd be waiting for this woman with the white sheet, and the steps of the door. Thank God it never happened to me. But the one-way bread was something special. I can remember even yet the sweetness of the taste of it. I know you can get Howard's one-way flour now at the moment, and Howard's stone ground or something, to patch in it. This was the one-way you got it from the farmer. It was beautiful bread.
Thank you, Michael. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes. Dr. Manikin Shoy, whom most of you know at this particular stage, and the regulars here know him anyhow, and everybody would have heard of him on his article in the Limerick Leader for many, many years. As I said earlier in the evening, always very helpful, and we are indeed very honoured and proud to have him. And he will speak for about 5 minutes or so on the harvest time of long ago. Thank you.
Well, the harvest time, of course, was always a very important time, and especially before the coming of the modern harvesting machinery. It was a critical time, and the crops had to be saved, and if weather was bad, all hands were on deck, young and old, men, women and children had to go out and help to save the harvest. Now, I remember 1946, on the 12th of August 1946, there was a terrible, disastrous flood, and it swept away an awful lot of hay in different parts of the country. But from that flood, I think until about April 1947, the sun was hardly seen. It was a fearful winter, a terrible harvest, so much so that the army was sent out, and people from towns and cities were recruited and went out into the country to help to save the harvest. I think that was about the last time nowadays. So such an effort made to save the harvest. Now, there were a lot of traditions in different parts of the country about saving the harvest. And one very common one was where a cornfield would be cut, and it was a custom to leave one patch of the corn standing until the very end. You know, nobody just mowed away and all finished together. One patch would be left standing, about enough to make a sheaf, and all gathered round that. And there was a certain amount of ceremony about this particular last patch of corn. And sometimes when people cut with hooks, we've heard tonight of hooks being used to cut the corn, but the mowers with the hooks sometimes stood back a short distance from that patch of corn, and they threw the hooks at it, and with great skill they might cut a certain amount of it, but the person who would cut the very last stalks always received a great cheer. It was a great feat. Now, the sheaf that was made of that last patch of straw was sometimes called an cailleach, the hag. I think we had a sheaf going around here earlier this evening, and it was called an cailleach because of the belief that sometimes women who practice pishogues turned themselves into a hare, and it was, you know, the small animals and frogs and all sorts of creatures, they kept moving away from the moors and ended up in that last patch. And it was believed the hare that would be anything and would make a bolt for freedom at the end would really be one of those pishogue workers, a hag. And so it was called an cailleach, the hag, that last sheaf of straw. And at times it was taken in procession to the house of the owner of the land and presented maybe to the owner himself if he wasn't out as he should be, helping to save the harvest, or to his wife. Now, another thing that was done in different parts of the country, I think even northeast Limerick is mentioned in this connection, was that there were some kind of a decoration, like a brooch to wear, was made of plaited straw. It was called a harvest knot, and some of them were very elaborate, and the ears of corn were included in the thing, and those are mostly worn by girls on their hair, and the men wore plainer kind of a harvest knot, but that was a common practice in parts of the country. Now, of course, the harvest home was another very important thing. When the harvest was safely gathered and in the barn or in the haggart, the owner of the crops, he threw a night for the people, for the workers and neighbours who helped to core with him and the mehl, and they gathered into his house, and there would be feasting and drinking and so on, and that was the harvest home. And I think there is an Irish Cayley dance called Portanoir, the harvest time jig, and I'm quite sure that received its name from the fact that it was danced maybe at these harvest homes. Now, the first Sunday after the 15th of August in some parts of the country was called Dascawn Sunday. Dascawn means gleaning, and the farmer and his family and the workers would go out into the cornfield, which had already been cut, and they would glean, they would gather the stray stalks of corn. Some of you may remember a picture that's often seen in houses by Millet, the gleaners. Here there is a companion picture by the same painter, De Angelis. And apart from the cutting of the corn and the saving of it, of course, the making of the reek was a big day too at harvest time. And I can remember at home long ago how we looked forward to the day the reek was made, and a kind of a foundation would be laid down for it, maybe of rushes, and in a very big circle, and then they would start to draw in the hay. Now, it was mostly on floats that the wines were brought in at that time, and I can remember there was a man in Brewery House named Browning. His predecessor there, Gubbins, won the Epsom Derby twice with two famous horses, Galtymore and Patrick. But he had a stud farm in Knockfierna, and I can remember his workmen carting hay, loads of hay from Knockfierna to Brewery, and there'd be piled a big load of hay on a cart, a big strong horse drawing it, and it called for a great lot of skill. The hay was cuddled up at the corners of the load. You'd never see the like now, of course, but I can remember that of their drawing the hay back into Brewery. But I remember it, of course, bringing in the wines of hay on the floats and into the hay haggard. And I think, you know, that's very nice. Him, Creaston Shield, it captures a lot of the atmosphere of the hay haggard. You have a Creaston Shield, like Creaston 4, in Ihlan Day, good Dr. Shing. That is, to Christ the seed, to Christ the harvest. In God's haggard may we be garnered. So I think I could finish appropriately with that account of the thing. But one could keep talking for a long time about the harvest, and the digging out of the potatoes, of course, was another great occasion of the harvest period. So anyway, I think we have commemorated and celebrated the harvest very appropriately with song and music here tonight, and has been a great night. Thanks to Pat O'Donovan and to all who contributed in various ways to the night.
Our thanks to Dr. Manikin Shoei. As I said, a very learned man. He could go on for another half an hour there without any reference to any notes, but time is moving against us. We have a few more people to go through, and we will take a song in between that, and we will have the lady from Knockfierna herself, or almost. Her father told us one time. Anne-Marie Noonan of the Ferrymen, she will sing My Irish Country Home.
In an Irish country home, one evening long ago, sat an old man and his little daughter Nell. Said the girl with Irish glee, as she sat on Papa's knee, "You promised me a story you would tell. Come tell me of the past, of my mother dear," she asked. "Come tell me how she used to look," she cried. "Handsome Nell," the old man said, as he slowly bent his head. Tears were in his eyes, he then replied. "She was sweeter than the blossoms on the clover. She was fairer than the evening sun set low. And I never will forget how much I loved her. When your mother took my name long, long ago, we were happy, she and I, and in every way we tried to make our house a home of happiness. Till one bright September's morn, on the day that you were born, God took her to a heaven high above. She was sweeter than the the blossoms on the clover. She was fairer than the evening sun set low, and I never will forget how much I loved her. When your mother took my name long, long ago, in an Irish country home, one evening long ago, said an old man to his little daughter Nell, though the best of friends must part, she was dearer to my heart, for your mother was the only one I loved. She was sweeter than the blossoms on the clover. She was fairer than the evening sun set low, and I never will forget how much I loved her. When your mother took my name long, long ago, when your mother took my name long, long ago.
That was Anne Marie, and I think with her visits to Knockfierna, her voice is improving after that excellent performance, a fine performance there with Anne Marie. As I said, a gentleman that came with us, David Brown from Broadford, has been with us on quite a few occasions, and indeed on the few occasions that he couldn't come, that he always rang up apologising afterwards. And I've known David quite a few years now, a real true gentleman. And we won't say any more about him. David Brown of Broadford. David has appeared on television also with John B. Keane there a few years ago. So he will speak for himself. David, the seat by the fire. Thanks.
Thanks, Pat. I don't know about the gentleman bit. There was a lady just going out there, and with a basket of eggs, and I felt this sort of strange sort of liquid going down my trousers, and for a moment I thought there was that somebody was getting me back for being late. But this is I was trying to think of something, and mind you, it went out very well over the radio. Because I'm sure nobody here has heard it, but it was excellent, and it was well appreciated by Jim Wallace that was on, and it's just that you deserve all the congratulations for that. But this is an extract. I have nothing appropriate for the harvest, I'm sorry to say, but this is is a poem by a person called John O'Brien, who was a priest, and I can't exactly remember when he lived, but it's it was the beginning of the century, I think, that he composed a series of poems that he put in a book called Around the Bory Log, and it has, I think, it's gained in a lot of popularity in recent times, but certainly was a very popular book in around the 50s and the early 60s. And this is a poem called Josephine, who's a parish priest's housekeeper, and she's died about a year, and the parish priest is very sad and longing for Josephine, because he's just got a new housekeeper who is very modern, up to date, and he thoroughly dislikes her mannerisms and the way she's running the place. And this is sort of shall we say, an obituary to Josephine. The presbytery has gone to pot since this housekeeper came. She's up to date and stylish. Sure, the place is not the same since death's hard summons robbed me of my faithful old machine that wore out in my service here, my faithful Josephine. Poor Josephine, she knew me well, and faith she ought to know. The time the bishop sent me here some 30 years ago, my one and only manager, my right-hand man she'd been, I never had a word against, my trusted Josephine. She pottered round the house herself for 30 years or more, but this one with her tuckerine to sweep and mind the door, and entertain with parish chat each gossiping voting, she'd have no tuckerine round the place, would crabbed Josephine. My study was a sanctum once, a place all by my own, but this one with her natty ways can't leave the place alone. Her fingers ache to tidy up, and when she's extra clean, I sit a stranger in my room and sigh for Josephine. She says the table's awful, it drives her to despair. Perhaps it does, but here are methods in what seems confusion there. I know where every paper is, each book and magazine, that jumbled pile was sacred in the eyes of Josephine. The new one hides my things away in cubbyhole and drawer, and faith she does her job so well they're gone forevermore. She'd have to learn to let things be the way they've always been, just sweep the floor and make the beds, the same as Josephine. She used to hide my battered hats and old berettas too, just when I had them broken in. They'd disappear from view. I'd often wondered where they'd gone, until one day I'd seen a tramp in full pontificals, subscribed by Josephine. I mind the day the bishop came one day in early spring. I brought him round to see the school and hear the children sing. Begod, I was a toff that day. You'd swear I was a dean or some commercial traveller. My thanks to Josephine. My coat was pressed, the trousers that I had creases in them fore and aft like new ones from the store. I smelt like some old motor car, exuding kerosene, and noticed too the furtive glance of anxious Josephine. We watched his lordship's portly pass proudly o'er the mat, his majesty the curate next, with his gloves and shiny hat. I stuck on an old beretta that better days had seen, but she came and dragged it off my head. I wish her, Josephine. It often strikes me now she's gone, she'd no drawbacks at all. Her features just a shade serene, her age canonical. And fashions of her mother's days she trod her way serene, and wandering ways of worldly dames disgusted Josephine. She knew the place from back to front, she knew the parish through, and those who never went to mass, and those who did, she knew. The times arranged for this and that, she had the whole routine, and oftentimes when in doubt, I went to Josephine. She thought I'd never make mistakes, not even if I tried. She thought the Holy Ghost would send a mitre ere I died. She lay in wait for wagging tongues, and faith her own was keen. God help the one that dared complain in front of Josephine. The people called her bishop, and curate too, I hear. They even called her parish priest, in disrespect I fear. They told me she would ruin the church. Too long with me she'd been. But only death could give the sack to my faithful Josephine. Soft and sweet be sleep to her who friendless trod her track, along the beaten road of life that knows no turning back. I marked with splendid Irish faith that met the closing scene, and heard the beat of angels' wings that came for Josephine. She's in her lonely grave tonight beneath the Murray pines, and softly in a wind-swept song a requiem divines. The people raised a stone for her to keep her memory green, and left it to the winds and rain, the name of Josephine. She's dead. She's dead now, let me see. She's dead 12 months. Tomorrow is her anniversary. Now, who's the saint tomorrow? A Semi, a Hedwig Queen. I'll wear the black, and may God rest the soul of Josephine.
No,
don't talk it.
A very, very fine performance again from David Brown. David from Broadford. Another David in there, we've missed him all night. David, are you right for a song? David is secretary of our committee for quite a few years now. He's always active around the house, but usually at this time of night he gets squeezed into the back. So David O'Riordan.
Right, I'll sing the Bantry Girls Lament, song that Jimmy Crowley used to sing. Now who will plough the fields now, and who will sow the corn, and who will watch the sheep now, and keep them from all harm? The stag that's in the haggard, unthrashed it may remain, since Johnny, lovely Johnny, went to fight the King of Spain. The girls from the Bonog in sorrow may retire, and the piper and his bellows may go home and blow the fire. Since Johnny, lovely Johnny, is a sailing o'er the main, he's along with other patriots for to fight the King of Spain. The boys will surely miss him when money more comes round, and Greaves, who is our captain, is nowhere to be found. The peelers must stand idle against their will and brain, for the valiant boy who gave them work now feels the King of Spain. At weights or hurling matches, your likes will never see, till you come back again to us, a story Knockfierna. And won't you trounce the buckines who show us much disdain, because our eyes are not as bright as those you'll meet in Spain. If cruel fate should not permit our Johnny to return, his awful loss we Bantry girls will never cease to mourn. We'll resign ourselves to our sad lot, and die in grief and pain, since Johnny died for Ireland's pride in the sunny land of Spain.
Our very efficient secretary and also a very fine singer, David O'Riordan. A lovely song indeed. We never finished the same day as we started, never finished the same night as we started, so it is 8 minutes to 12, so we'll finish just a couple of minutes after 12. And those we have left on my list anyhow are Pat McCall of the Shanachie, who will give you a few little stories now, and then Paddy Stokes from Kappa, and then Anne-Marie and Tom O'Donoghue. I think they're going to play singly, not together, but they'll probably finish off together. But if they wish to play a few tunes on their own. So Pat McAuliffe is next by the fire. And again, in case you get a bit careless as we go on a few more minutes, our sincere thanks to all of you for coming tonight. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. And without our own committee, David O'Riordan, John O'Riordan, and all of the other committee members, Bertie Hanley, and the ones who can't hear us in behind the fire, our thanks to those as well. And hopefully again at Christmas time we will do another special one, and we're looking forward to having you all again on that occasion. And again, as I said, our sincere thanks to you all, and to David Brown, I suppose, for rushing from Cork to come at 11:30. He is more than welcome at that time of night as well. We appreciate the effort. So Pat McAuliffe. I don't know if it's because you're going or not. I don't know if it's because you're going or trapping.
No. That's it.
Thanks, ladies. Okay. We'll start again when you're gone.
Sorry. Oh, let's get the rain
Wonderful, no?
Oh,
we're all right.
Too small.